which allows mom to have that vacation time. She's not asking you to take any of your time. She is allowed to travel foreign countries. Good afternoon. This is the time set for case D19C. Do we have, let's see, do we have counsel for plaintiffs, right? And then you would like to make your parents counsel?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Robert DeMarco, bar number 12359, appearing for Richard Schoenfeld on behalf of Mr. who's present via Blue Jeans.
Right. And Mr. Do we have you here?
Yes, Your Honor. Defendant and proper person appearing via Blue Jeans.
All right. Mr. DeMarco, I didn't see that you filed a reply. Did you see the opposition from Mr. and try to work that out with him?
So, Your Honor, I saw the opposition. I'm an attorney with Richard Schoenfeld's office. He's unfortunately in a trial in Los Angeles today and just was unable to cover. I'm familiar generally with the history of the case. I'm familiar with Mr. lack of cooperation. What we'd ask, Your Honor, and Mr. Schoenfeld detailed it in his motion, that Mr. requesting that the child can travel with her to England and Spain from June 24th to July 18. Part of the reason why Mr. kind of talks about, there's not some specific information that my understanding is Mr. is waiting essentially for the court to order this so it's permitted, so then she can actually firm up some additional arrangements with the travel, obviously for expense purposes and stuff to that effect. So she will provide itineraries. She'll provide all the required information. Mr. apparently wants, every single minute by minute, travel arrangement. That's not unreasonable, or that's unreasonable, as the court knows. This is her vacation time. These countries are not on, there's no, and I don't want to misstate anything, but my research shows that England and Spain, they're not on a do not fly list or reconsider travel list. There's no concerns at all. Miss obviously takes safety very seriously. So, Your Honor, again, and I noticed Mr. Schoenfeld didn't specifically request attorney fees, but really, it almost seems that attorney fees should be warranted, because this is just really no real justified basis to refuse this. And again, just shows it's just really unfortunate, the lack of a cooperation. He's rehashing all these totally irrelevant facts, Your Honor. So we would ask the motion be granted. I can prepare an order basically stating that the court is permitting her to travel with the child from this date to that date, generally from to England and Spain, and she then can firm up some of the travel arrangements, and then she can provide, itinerary and lodging information to Mr. I believe that would be sufficient, Your Honor.
Mr. I read your opposition, and I think that there's just a misunderstanding of how this process happens. I mean, any parent who's traveling out of the country with the child needs to have two things before they go to the expense of purchasing a plane ticket. They need to have the passport in hand and the travel letter from the other parent in hand. Then they go to the expense, as these tickets will be very expensive to travel to Europe, of doing that. And I'm not changing anything in the parenting coordinator decision regarding prior to travel, 14 days prior, so that's June 10th. She has to send you via Our Family Wizard details of the travel, where they're going, what hotels, if she knows that. What else? Yeah, a copy of the flight itinerary. would be appropriate. And is your cell phone going to be working? My understanding is you have to do something special to make sure your cell phone still works, or are you going to have an alternate phone number?
I plan to have my own cell phone work, but if there's a problem with that, I'll have an alternate. I might have two. And I'll provide him with the phone number of where we're staying, the hotels and things.
Okay. Yeah, so that needs to be provided by June 10th. So, Mr. Are you going to sign the travel letter, or do I just need to make a court order?
The first thing is that I have a preliminary objection about the due process today of the hearing being scheduled within less than a judicial day. And obviously you can see I'm on the side of the road, and due process requires being heard in a meaningful time, in a meaningful manner. The second thing I wanted to say was that I have never objected to this travel because there has been no travel plan set forth. The original document, the original proposal that Mr. Schoenfeld provided had different dates. I believe they were shorter, later in June to earlier in July, and included one less country. All I'm asking for is to know just which country on which day the child is going to be in, and that's a legal right. I don't think that's something that we can get around, and that's all I've asked. We don't have to. I don't even need confirmed purchase plans; those can change. But to know which country a parent's child is on which day is a fundamental parenting right.
And again, Your Honor, we've outlined the specific range of travel and the countries. And again, Ms. will provide the specifics, as Your Honor pointed out, in sufficient time. So again, this is, Mr. Schoenfeld provided the consent form. It was not signed. So the court, as the court knows, due process is met. We're having a hearing. He's had notice of the hearing. He filed an opposition. So this idea of that there's no due process is absurd. But with all due respect, Your Honor, we would ask the court grant this, and Ms. will provide the required information. And again, it's just unfortunate that, Ms. has to, the court had granted uninterrupted vacation time, and rather than Mr. try to work with Ms., he just refuses basically, and now we have to come to court. So that's why it's really wasting this court's time. So we'd ask the motion be granted, Your Honor.
All right. With regard to the due process issue, the court will note that the order shortening time was issued on Thursday, the 19th at 4:39 p.m. All parties were served electronically, so that is the one judicial day's notice is the Friday.
Just to correct that, Your Honor, the timing was changed again on Friday.
At your request.
Yes.
So, it was a change to accommodate you, and it did not, and it was a couple hours later than originally. So there's no denial of due process here. This motion was filed back on April 26th, and the opposition was timely filed, I think.
He filed on May 10th.
Yes, I see that. So everything's in order. You've had notice and plenty of opportunity. It's almost a month since I filed the motion. It's not like the motion was filed Thursday and you had to respond and be here. And with regard to jurisdiction, even though there's a pending appeal, this court has jurisdiction to enforce the existing orders, which allows mom to have that vacation time. She's not asking you to take any of your time. She is allowed to travel foreign countries, and she has to comply with the PC coordinator's decision regarding the information she has to provide you in at least 14 days before her travel on the 24th. And she'll have time, she still has time to do that. So I'm going to grant the motion, and I'm going to deny the counter motion for an evidentiary hearing and have Dr. Holland testify. I don't find that there's anything that shows that that's necessary in this case, and it'd be a waste of time. I don't know what you want an evidentiary hearing on wasn't very clear in your opposition.
I wanted to take the issue is that Dr. Holland is a neutral expert in this case, and so I'm unable to just go and ask her for an affidavit or a declaration or something like that explaining her report. And I wanted to take a deposition pursuant to NRCP 27B, which allows depositions while on appeal. And I thought that could also be useful here. I suppose those could be two separate requests.
Well, I would deny both requests because there is nothing to have an evidentiary hearing, and your counsel stipulated to Dr. Holland's report coming in rather than either one of you going to the expense of having Dr. Holland come and testify. That was a valid choice that is within counsel's purview of choices, and that choice was made. So there's nothing at this point to have an evidentiary hearing on. I'm not changing the orders regarding the vacation time you both have this summer, or that you both have the right to travel. And sir, if you're going to Ohio with your family, you and your son enjoy, have fun. You have the same obligation to give her 14 days beforehand. It's just that the international travel requires a travel letter, and since you wouldn't give it, now she had to file a motion. I am granting that I'm denying the two counter motions, and then there's nothing else to do. I wouldn't be changing. Don't have jurisdiction, Mr. While the appeal's pending, to change the existing orders that you have appealed. I have jurisdiction to enforce them, not to change them. So there's really nothing to set an evidentiary hearing on because I don't have authority to change the existing orders. And that seems to be what you're asking is to change something in the existing orders. And that's not something I can do at this time.
The court can give a honeycut implication of in which way it would rule, but yes, I suppose there couldn't be a full evidentiary hearing on that order. Yes, I agree.
If I'm giving a honeycut, I'm not inclined to change any of the orders. I haven't heard anything that makes a prima facie case to change the existing orders. So that counter motion, the counter motions will be denied as they've been clarified. And Mr. DeMarco, if you're also going to prepare the order, at the same time you submit it, email a copy to Mr. So he has a copy of what you've submitted, and then if it matches what was ruled on, we'll sign that and get that done.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Your Honor, that there's no requirement that he has to sign off. It's just I'm going to email him what I'm submitting, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
In this case, yeah. In most of the cases where I have propers, I don't have them sign off, but he's entitled to see what you're submitting and if he has a major objection. But basically, I've granted the motion so that she can travel to Europe, to England and Spain, as she's requested during those her summer vacation dates that have already been provided.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I'm clarifying that I expect both parties to comply with the parenting coordinator's decision regarding advance notice, 14 days or more notice of the itinerary and where you're staying and all those things. So that both parties, and I hope your son enjoys vacation with both of you this summer.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor. Appreciate it. Have a
Okay,
good
thank
day.
you, Your Honor.